So today it's back to the 1980s, a time when I had hair and this very amplifier, the Fender Twin. Watch on. Here she is, the Fender Twin. So this has been my amplifier since I bought it new, brand new in 1988, and it's been loved by me, but used a lot. So let's give this thing a little bit of TLC. Let's get the dust off of it and tidy it up before, and then we'll get into this bag. I'm using just regular furniture polish just to get around everything, get the dust out, make it look a little bit more presentable, a bit more enticing to look at, because I think these are lovely looking amplifiers. The funny thing is Redlock Twins, because they're sort of kind of looked at as sort of like the slightly inferior twins, because they're from what we call the Paul Revere era, whereas they went on to printed circuit boards, they weren't point-to-point wiring, but they are still incredible amplifiers and all valve. And actually, if you want to replicate this with another brand or even with Fender these days, there is a lot of money. So as you can see in there, she's pretty dirty. She needs a bit of a tidy up. So let's do that. Just a regular furniture polish. Someone's probably going to tell you, oh, you shouldn't do that. But you know what? I'm doing it. So let's just give this the cover for the reverb tank a wipe over. That is looking great already. A bit of a wipe around the inside of the cabinet. Go. The backs of the speakers. I'm not going to get any of this stuff on any electrical contacts or wires or anything like that. It's just literally to make this amplifier look a little bit more pleasing to the eye, because at the moment, because it's been such regular use, this amplifier, it's a weekly rehearsal plus gigs, and it's not really had a chance, or I've not really had a chance to give it the attention it really needs. So this feels good getting into this. So as is often the case with amplifiers and things like that, occasionally you're going to decorate your house, and when you do, if you don't move things out of the way, you might get a bit of paint on. It's quite a common thing to see on guitars, guitar cases and amplifiers. What I've done is I've just sprayed a little bit of carburetor cleaner onto that tiny patch of paint that's on the cabinet, and I'm going to give that a rub. I've left it sit there for about 20 seconds, and there you go, gone as if it was never there at all. So there's a little tip for you. Carburetor cleaner does remove house paint. So while cleaning this old girl up, I've discovered there's a little bit of a tear in the Tolex right there. Easy fix. What we're going to do with that is get some, I'm going to use Gorilla Glue, but a super glue or some kind of contact adhesive will do it. Paint some in there, let it get tacky, and then press that down, and that will fix that and stop it getting any worse, hopefully. Okay, so contact adhesive can be messy old stuff, and I've got a little tip for you. What I tend to do anyway, when I'm going to apply something to an area of this sort of size, is use a Q-tip. So what I'm going to do is just pop the Q-tip in the pot where the glue is, just take a little bit of glue out of there like that, then going to paint it underneath the tear, and a little bit on the surface I want it to adhere to. I'm going to leave that now for a very short while, a few seconds during the course of this conversation, just to tack off a tiny little bit, and then we're going to press it down. So let's do that now. So let's bring that bit of Tolex down, hold it in place, there you go, and it was as if it was never torn at all. So I've given this a bit of wipe over, but there's still a load of dirt which is in this sort of like the leatherette type of grain in there. And what I've got here is a sonic cleaner, they call it, or a sonic, it's like a massive electric toothbrush. So I'm going to flood the area with a bit of furniture polish just to get the thing loosened up with. Perhaps that's an excessive amount. Let's wipe it around a little bit, and let's watch this stuff fly around as I get this brush into the grain. So there you go, that's how you renovate old Tolex, to get that dust and grime out from in those tiny little crevices that's on that fake leather grain. That looks great. I mean, it's not like a brand new amp now, but I'll tell you what, it's a long way from where it was. So you can see on the side of this amp where the backplate screws to has literally come out, and all it was held in with are these 3 pins, which must have been done with a nail gun back in the factory when it was made. So let's just push that back in, and the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to drill that through, try not to come through the cabinet here, and put a couple of screws in there to retain it. So I was cleaning up this Fender Twin, trying to get it all nice and tidy and ready for use, and there was no sound output. I've never been inside one of these amps before, so I very carefully, because I hold up to a lethal charge, took the unit apart, and there I found 2 blown fuses. So I'm going to endeavour to get those changed, get it back together again, and let's hope that solves the issue and this amp can live and breathe again. Safety first. So once you've got the amp dismantled and you've got the amp chassis out of the cab, ready to start looking at, you've got to take a great deal of care when you're dealing with old tube or even new tube amplifiers. Never poke around with a screwdriver or anything metallic, because these things here, these are power resistors, and there's another 4 over there. These can hold very, very high voltage, potentially long after the amplifier's been switched off. I mean, this one here is 300 volts, 300 volts. These 2 hold 350. I can't see what the power rating is on those. However, before we start getting involved and doing anything at all, you've got to discharge those power resistors, and the way you could do that is with one hand in your pocket, and the other hand is the one that you're going to use to do the work with. So the first thing we need to do is to get a wire and ground it to the chassis, and I've done it's just slightly off camera, but I've got a crocodile clip on the end of this wire, and I'm just attaching it to the chassis to make sure it's to ground. With one hand holding the other end of the wire, for a few seconds each time we need to touch the positive side of these power resistors, and you can tell the positive side because they've always got a slight dimple, a slight recess at the end. That will be the positive side, and there'll be a contact coming out of those. You just hold it onto there for a few seconds and then move on to the next one, and repeat that process all the way through all of these power resistors. And then you're going to test it with a voltmeter to make sure that there is no voltage remaining in those power resistors. Now, I've done this already, so this was just a demonstration to show you what the process is. Some people will put a small capacitor on the end of the wire probe where they're going to discharge the thing. That will stop any potential sparks. I haven't got any sparks on this, as I said, I've already discharged this. So the next bit of the process to get your digital multimeter set to voltage. Okay, and there it is, and it's set to voltage. I'm going to put that in camera just about there. Hopefully that's not going to get in the way. One end, the negative end, you're going to ground it to the chassis of the amplifier, which may be off camera. I'll see if I can get it in. Okay, so let's ground this. It's off camera, but still. So the negative goes to ground, and the positive, again, you're going to touch. Let's get this so you can actually see the screen, hopefully. Right, so negative to ground, and then you're going to touch the positive terminal on these power resistors and hold it there and just see if you get a reading. I'm not sure if that's on camera, but that's reading zeros, zeros, zeros. And on this side, we've got 0, 0, and again 0 on both of those as well. So I now know that those power resistors contain no voltage, and this amplifier is now safe to work on. So just to reiterate, do it all with one hand, because you don't want to create a circuit across your chest. That can potentially be fatal. So you will certainly get a nasty shock as it is. Just to show you, the heart operates like this. Valve opens, closes like this, and if you get a shock in that split second when both valves are closed, they will stay that way. So please take a great deal of care when you're operating with an old valve amplifier, and if you're in any doubt of it at all, get an amp tech to do it and trust it to someone who's got experience, and the tools proceed. Right, so moving on, now we can start dismantling the PCB with the these broken cement resistors in there. So I've just received the new ones in the post. Then we're going to get the thing put back together again, switch it on, and hopefully this amp is going to live once more. Okay, so I'm just going to start trying to melt the solder, which is that's going quite quickly. That's pretty good. Yeah, and try and suck it up with this little solder sucker. So I've removed the 10 watt capacitor, which is this broken one there. I'm going to put it alongside that one and nip off the legs of the new one to be the same height, so I know they're going to go pretty much back in place where I want them. Okay, and that's it. The legs all marry up. Let's put the shielding back on those. and then we'll get that back into the chassis. One last thing, it blew both of its, well, two amp fuses, so they've got to get replaced, of which I have two brand new candidates to pop in. There, one and two. Now I'm hoping that I haven't messed up on that job, because that PCB was very fragile on the second one that I took out. So let's get this thing put back together again and get it back in the chassis, because if it's broken from here on, I'm going to be going to an amp tech. And there it is. Let's use this rubber to point with. Okay, so there we go. New 10 watt cement resistor, new 30 watt cement resistor, two new valves resoldered on the back. Just hope and pray I've got those solder joints in there good and proper. And now it's time to get this thing back together again and see if we've been successful. If I have been successful, I've just saved myself a fair bit of money going to the amp tech. And if I haven't, well, I'm still going to have to go to the amp tech. Right, so it's time now to lift this old beast up and get her back into her home. When I was taking this out, it snagged this shielding tape, which possibly acts as an earth as well. So I'm just going to try and stretch that back out flat again so it does its intended job. It might aid a little bit of noise cancelling, I don't know. Right, so the amp is now back together. The moment of truth awaits. I've plugged a guitar in with a crappy little lead, and I'm just about to knock that standby button off, and let's just see what happens. Here we go. Aha, okay, so there's a hum. There is a hum, but let's see if there's an input signal. So guitar's on. So yeah, the guitar's got a signal going through it, so the amp does live again. But into the bargain, I rather think that one of those power resistors is probably going to need replacing. A job for the future, but right now this amp is living and breathing again. It's back in the folder and I can use it. I just got to put up with that little bit of a hum for a little while, but a result, and it just goes to prove if you've got a bit of determination, you can do anything you want to. So doesn't it just go to prove that if you've got a bit of determination, you've got access to YouTube, you've got the right tools and some patience, you can achieve just about anything. And I think that's a wonderful thing in this era of technology that we live in. So the amp lives again. I can go back to rehearsals once restrictions are lifted, and I can deliver on the promise of the rematch between the Glary and the Fender in future. But next time around, we're going to swap things up a little bit, and I'm going to review a pedal, and it's going to be this one. This is the Electro Harmonix Synth 9. Epic pedal. Let's see how we get on with that next time. In the meantime, a bit of a shout out to Pat Bennett, Simon Gold, TJ4G Guitar Slim, and my best mate Roger Stevens. I'm sorry I missed your birthday, mate, but we'll catch up soon. See you guys next time on the Rock and Roll Gear Show. Keep playing.